So we didn't do a podcast for a past couple of days. We were super busy with High Score Con that was this weekend. It's the biggest video game convention in Montreal that I run. And we then started doing planning for Retro Expo, which is the biggest toy convention in Montreal that me and a bunch of people run together. And Jaws D is also part of it. And we had all this news drop while I was doing all this stuff. So I apologize for being behind on a little of all of this, but man, is this big news. This is big news, and I apologize for not jumping on this sooner. But let's talk about the recent Ryden project announcement that has gotten an update. Now, there was the special exhibition. We talked about this on the past in the past on the podcast about the railway story in the sky Japanese exhibition, talking about the history of the Shize Shoken, the bullet trains in Japan, and all the different history of fiction with Japanese trains and the bullet trains and stuff like that. And Transformers had a major part of that exhibit, and that Takara was going to be doing a major announcement. And we thought the logical people thought, well, it's gonna be a combiner for that generation's classic style of Ryden. We're going to finally get a, version of that, just like how we got pretty much combiners of everyone up to this point. And Ryden was like the lone wolf of the Generation 1 combiners, with the exception of obviously other Japanese combiners like, Dino King or Road Caesar or something like that. But Ryden was on his way. That's what we thought. And then Takara threw us such a curveball that it's making my head spin, because it's just like, if you would have told me, hey, Proto Man, who's going to be the first ever masterpiece combiner? If Takara decided to do it, who would it be? And I mean, you don't even have to ask me. Anyone would have asked you. And you would have all given the same answer, and it would have been Devastator. Obviously, Devastator would have gotten it. And then let's say there was a second place. Who would be next? Who would be number 2? And, then that one really falls into subjectivity. It's like, oh, well, maybe people are really big on the aerial bots. Maybe it's Menasor. Maybe it's, some really good, Defensor fans over there. I mean, I love the Protectobots. I love Defensor. Maybe they'll go for something more obscure. Maybe Predaking will get that treatment. Maybe that Titan Predaking wasn't enough. They want to do a masterpiece one. But it looks like it's going to be Ryden and the Trainoboto, the train bots. So what's fascinating about this, it's two things. It's number one, we're going to finally see Takara do a masterpiece combiner, and it'll let us know how big that would be in terms of like how they want to do scale, how big the price point will be, like what is the price point going to be on this thing, and how will the engineering be for the individual units, because we've seen all of this in relation to what third party has been doing with their masterpiece combiners. And, we can't use that as too much of a comparison because they have different ways of pricing things. Scale is a whole different story because not every company is going to be on the same page when it comes to scale, especially when they're doing combiners and they don't really do normal masterpiece scale stuff. If it's the same company, there's no reason to have a scale. It's just to be a nice piece. But now, so it's like, they have on display here with it, obviously it's just, they just show a silhouette of what potentially might be the team of the actual toy, but they had on display with the original Generation 1 Ryden toy from 1987 from Headmasters. They also had MP44 Convoy Optimus Prime version 3, and they also had MP45 Bumblebee version 2. So if anything, number one, to promote both of these toys, because these are the last masterpieces that recently came out, with the exception of Beast Wars Black Arachnia. So it's something where, are they trying to suggest also, hey, we're going to try to keep to scale with these two big boys, he's going to be a big guy. And with the recent years of us getting used to paying $300 and $350 or $400 for our masterpieces. I mean, MP44 Convoy Optimus here, some people are paying $350, some people are paying $400. What do you think Ryden's going to cost? Do you think that the individual members will be extremely articulated and fleshed out to the point that Ryden's going to be so crazy that he could be a $700 masterpiece? Are we going to get like individually, like, the members of Ryden, like, Shuki, the leader, or, Yuki Kaze, or Seizan, or Kaien, any of those guys. If are their individual limbs, are those guys going to be on that heavy masterpiece level just on their own of articulation and engineering, and then that combined mode is going to be just as crazy? Part of me almost wants to feel that, the masterpiece version of these guys would be it's almost like we got a taste of it with Predaking, in that I think Predaking kind of shows us what a masterpiece scale combiner could be in theory, and what the individual pieces would be like. That's just my take. Like, I think if anyone who's owned, Titan scale Predaking from Power of the Primes, and messed with him and knows what they're dealing with that, I think that's going to probably give us a bit of an indication of what Ryden's going to give us too. Obviously, it's going to be a little more defined with Ryden. It'll have that extra polish in terms of paint applications and use of higher quality plastic, as opposed to a retail, mass-produced product like a Titan scale Predaking. But at the same time, I think from a articulation and engineering wise, with the limits that still Takara has to go by, and let's be real here, let's be really real, it's Ryden, it's not Devastator. So I don't think that they're gonna go like two balls to the wall also, where he's known with like Japanese fans, but the average Transformer fan has no idea who he is, and it's only like hardcore fans. Like I always had like my 5-tier system of Transformer fans, where it's like, casual, then, somewhat, more into it. And then, like the more hardcore fans, then the crazy fans, and then the obsessive fans. And, like I think like tier 3 to 5 know who Ryden is, but tier 1 and 2, they'll maybe know, didn't G1 in Japan had a train guy, but, wasn't he called Midnight Express? Like there's that whole thing where it's like, not a lot of people will know who this is. So they're not going to be banking too much on Americans, doing pre-orders on Big Bad Toy Store to get this guy. This is something where, like, I know when Beast Wars Megatron came out, some of my friends who were at most casual Transformer fans who just really liked Beast Wars, they got that masterpiece because they were excited. Same thing, like just at High Score Con that just passed, one guy who was just a big Beast Wars fan got that Beast Wars Dinobot. So because of that American connection. But how many casual Transformer fans in America are going to be excited about a Ryden combiner? Not many. How many Japanese casual Transformer fans are going to be excited about Ryden? I'm curious what that number is, because, while he did make an appearance in Headmasters in a very limited capacity, and sure, he's in the intro, and that's like his biggest claim to fame, but it's like, I don't know. It's a very interesting choice, something that I would have never guessed, but it's going to tell us so much about the future when we finally see him and get him in hand, about how Takara is going to handle Masterpiece if combiners are a thing. This might even open the door for the future, because now it's like we're not just talking about, hey, let's finish our 84 and 85 Autobots and then move on to 86 Autobots with official Takara masterpieces. Now this opens the door to, hey, Takara, when are you doing Menasor? When are you doing Devastator? When are you going to do the aerial bots? When are you going to do Bruticus? So it's opened that door now, and if they're going to be sold as full sets, that could be potentially $700 to $1,000, after Unicron and stuff like that, and this is going to become a regular thing. Oh man, this is going to be very, very interesting. So I'm going to keep you guys posted whenever more images show up. We just have this silhouette and this image and this display from the Railway Story in the Sky, special exhibition in Japan from last weekend. But this is going to be some nutty stuff.